This is Geometry, Chapter 5, Section 5, in which we will study the triangle inequality. Okay, we've talked about triangles quite a bit the last couple of chapters. We're going to add a little bit more to what we know. And our main weapon theorem of the day is Theorem 511, the triangle inequality theorem. Okay. What this tells me is that the sum of the lengths of any two sides of a triangle has to be bigger than the third side. Okay. You already know this. You just haven't thought about it in these terms. The statement that you know this as is the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Okay. Now, what it amounts to in practice is the idea goes the sum of the two short sides has to be bigger than the big side. Okay. This technically calls for doing 3 checks. Side A plus side B has to be bigger than C. Side A plus side C has to be bigger than B. And side B plus side C has to be bigger than A. We can really get away with only checking one of these things. Take the two small ones and add them together. They have to be bigger than the big side. So they're going to ask us some really tricky questions here, such as, is it possible to make a triangle out of these sides? So I have a potential triangle. I have 3 segments. One is 15 yards, one is 16 yards, and one is 30 yards. We need to check 15 yards plus 16 yards. Well, that's 31. 31 is greater than 30. It meets the rule that was set in that theorem, so yes, this could be a triangle. Now, in our second problem, they're throwing us a real nasty trick. 2 feet, 8 feet, and 138 inches. A lot of people won't read their units, and they'll go 2 plus 8 is 10, 10 is way less than 138. So we got a problem, so it's no. Well, not so fast, my friends. We need to check and make sure we're in the same unit. 138 inches isn't the same as feet. We could turn all these feet into inches, or we could turn these inches into feet. One calculation is easier than 2, so let's just turn the inches into feet. So we'll go back to way back in the beginning of the year in Chapter 0 and convert inches into feet. 138 inches times 1 foot for every 12 inches. My trusty calculator comes up with 11.5 feet. Well, now we're comparing feet to feet, so everything's okay. The two small ones are 2 and 8. 2 plus 8 is 10. 10 feet is less than 11.5 feet. So the theorem says, no, this is not a triangle. You just have to be careful of your units. Don't let them trick you. Okay. And we'll conclude this with the idea of doing a proof in this thinking. We're given that JL is congruent to LM, and we want to prove that KJ plus KL is bigger than LM. Now we could do this with an indirect proof, but that's not fun. So we'll do it with a direct proof. We'll start with the given information. Now this triangle inequality theorem that we just learned today tells me in this triangle over here, in triangle JKL, that JK plus KL is greater than JL. Okay. 2 sides of the triangle have to be greater than the third one. Well, that looks a whole lot like that. What do we need to do to make our final thing look like that? Yeah, I hope I just heard you say substitution. Plug in LM in place of JL since they're equal by substitution. And presto, we're done. Okay. Now again, technically, we probably should have said JL is equal to LM without the congruence part. But remember, I'm not going to be that nitpicky with you. You may have to deal with that in the future somewhere else, some other time, but I'm not being that picky. So triangle inequality. We like it. It's short. It's sweet. It's a lot like me. If you have questions along the way, hopefully you jot those down, bring them in, and we will see you in class.